now see the sunlight and the pasture ahead of us. And so it is vital that we do not now lose control and run slap into a second and even bigger mountain. And so to avoid that disaster, our fifth and final test is that nothing as explanatory debate, the way few of us have seen in our lifetimes to protect the NHS and to save lives. And that's why
is the rate of infection. We have to make sure this is decreasing. All viruses are as low as we possibly can. Imagine 100 people are all infected. If R is more than 1, then those 100 people will infect less than 1. Those 100 people will infect the R of coronavirus since the start of the outbreak. Its peak. And months, the government will be monitoring R very carefully. It will be a key factor in how social distancing measures are used in the future.
Good. Well, I hope that was clear and useful. Patrick, any update, please?
You can have the first slide, please. So, as the Prime Minister has said, there are 5 tests that the government has laid down for adjusting the lockdown. And what I'd like to do is just go through some of the data in terms of the epidemic, so show you where we are. Next slide, please. So, the R is below 1. We think it's between 0.6 and 0.9 across the nation. Maybe a little lower in some places, a little higher in others, but it's below 1 across the country. This shows the number of new cases, but as I've said before, this only really shows in the blue the cases in hospital, and then in the orange the cases that have been tested outside, so it's not the total number of cases. We know that the total number of cases is on its way down. You can see in the blue bars here that the number in hospital, you can see, is coming down, and of course the orange bars represent others who've been tested, including essential workers. But the number of infections will be coming down. Next slide, please. This turns into a reduction in hospital admissions for COVID, and this is the NHS data, so this is England only data, but what you can see here in the blue is inpatients newly diagnosed with COVID, and in the orange is new inpatients with confirmed COVID at the time of admissions. So these are new admissions into hospital, and you can see very clearly from the 20th of March there was a rise up to a peak somewhere at the beginning of April, and now it's come down. So the number of cases is coming down, hospital admissions are coming down. Next slide, please. And that, of course, translates into the number of people in hospital with COVID, and this shows the data across the nations and in different regions. You can see very clearly the decrease in the number of people in hospital in London. You can see a slightly flatter situation in some other places. We need to make sure and to stick with what we're doing in order to get the R down further, to continue to keep it down, and to make sure that the number of people in hospital comes down right the way across the nation. But you can see the trend here to decrease. That in turn leads to the question of how do you get the critical care beds down, and again, when you look right the way across England, Northern Ireland, Wales and Scotland, the number of patients in critical care and those on ventilators is coming down right the way across. It's coming down slowly, as you would expect, but it's on its way down. Next slide, please. And that in turn starts to lead to the decrease in deaths. And here you can see the number of deaths in all settings, so this isn't just hospital, this is across all settings, and you can see it's gradually beginning to come down. It's not coming down as fast as it went up, and I've said before, I expect there to be a bit of a plateau